whereas when you get to the LCS and the World Series, you're all, everything's a night game. So
here's Piazza. First ball swinging, and there's Belliard. Hit sharply by Piazza, but Belliard tracked it down. Piazza is 0 for 2.
See if that laid-back mentality keeps it up.
I'm not into laid back personally, John, but I understand what he's talking about.
Well, as the curveball is in there to Adrian Gonzalez for a strike, it's interesting to say we don't have a superstar in this club coming from a guy who is a superstar.
Well, he was a superstar. He knows that he can no longer be the guy on a ball club anymore. And I mean, and it's one of these days, Albert Pujols, who is the superstar, it'll happen to him. I mean, that's the nature of the game. You can only, you have great productive years, but at some point your skills start to decline a little bit. And as good as Albert Pujols is, one of these days he's not going to be as good a hitter as he is today.
Adrian Gonzalez struck out his first time. He's the Padres' leading home run hitter, 24 homers. And he had 82 runs batted in. And really, he ended up playing out of necessity because Ryan Klesko got hurt.
Yeah.
And Gonzalez took the position over, and even had Klesko come back earlier, he was not going to move Gonzalez out of first base because he's just too good all around. He's one of the better defensive players you'll see at first base too. So he's got a base hit with 1 out. Ryan Klesko activated for this postseason and in the dugout. And Joe, it's a very sad day in baseball today, even as we celebrate the game with postseason play, because one of the great people in baseball, the first African-American coach in Major League history, and Buck O'Neill passed away. 19 years in the old Negro Leagues. He was a batting champion 2 different times. He led the effort to establish the Negro League Museum, and he was a great spokesman for the game of baseball, as well as for the living history of the old Negro Leagues and the way it was before Jackie Robinson integrated Major League Baseball.
Yeah, well, we all know how great a person Jackie Robinson was because he was more in the spotlight. Well, Buck O'Neill was along the same lines as Jackie Robinson in that he was just one of those great human beings that have a special impact on anyone that he meets. Forgetting baseball, outside of baseball, anywhere, Buck O'Neill had an impact on everyone that he met, and the people, loved him, and he was just a very special individual. I mean, I hear people all the time, and they're not even baseball fans, talk about the one time they saw Buck O'Neill or the one time they heard him speak. I mean, he was just one of those unique individuals, and we lost a good friend and just, a great human being.
Well, Buck O'Neill was he was an eloquent spokesman for the game, and always emphasized the game. Even his autobiography, because I asked him many times, you asked him, everybody asked him many times about the fact that he was not allowed to play in the major leagues. Was there bitterness? Was there anger over that? But the name of his autobiography was "I Was Right on Time."
Right.
He said he would not exchange the memories he had on those teams. Even though there were so many players, himself included, that should have been in the big leagues, he said he would not have exchanged it because they had a great times and they're doing what they loved. And he could speculate about what it might have been like to be in the big leagues, but he said he had such a great time that he just could not have bitterness about being excluded.
I told you, John, when I was in college, I did my thesis on the Negro Leagues because I wanted to know who these guys were, read about them, know about them. And in doing that, I always had this feeling of guilt personally that I got to play in the major leagues and they didn't. And when I got a chance to meet Buck O'Neill, Satchel Paige, all those great Negro League players, they made me understand they didn't miss anything. They loved the game, they played the game together, and they enjoyed what they were doing. They would only wanted to play in the major leagues to prove that they could play there. Not it was something that was burning that they wanted to get there. They just wanted to prove to the people that they could play there. because they said that they enjoyed what they did. They loved playing together. They had great times together, and that's what their life was all about. So, being honest with you, he helped me to really get over that guilt that I had, and I really did have that, knowing that a lot of those guys may have been better players than I was, but they didn't get a chance to play, and I did. So, Buck was, as you said, he was very close with me, and he was just a great individual.
Here now is Russell Branyan, 2 men on after the walk to Mike Cameron. An opportunity here for the Padres as Branyan takes ball 1 from Jeff Suppan. No score in the 4th inning. Well, the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown undertook a noble venture, and they spent a lot of time and effort in doing the research and putting together a committee to bring in more worthy Hall of Famers who were from the old Negro leagues. That the record keeping, the statistic keeping, and all that was not the same as it was in the big leagues. So a lot of research had to be done to get the full record, and yet it is so sad today. Buck O'Neil passes away because he was bypassed for the Hall of Fame, and a lot of people feel that that's an injustice. That Buck O'Neil was very deserving of being there, and if not as a player, certainly in the category of someone who was made great contributions to the game, and there are very few who have made more contributions to this game than Buck O'Neil.
Well, it was a great endeavor, and it was a great undertaking. It is sad that it didn't work as well as it should have.
Buck O'Neil passed away today at age 94, and while we mourn his passing, he will be long remembered in any ballpark that you go into around the country. And if you go to Kansas City, then be sure and stop by the Negro League Museum, which he helped create.
And you're right, it is a great experience to go through the museum.
Dave Roberts looking on from the dugout. His Padres in a 0-0 tie, but in the series they are down 2-0. They will be eliminated if they can't win this ball game. I always remember what Terry Francona told us, Joe, 2 years ago when his Red Sox were down 3-0 in the best-of-7 series with the Yankees, because we said that nobody's ever won 4 in a row after being down 3-0 in the best-of-7 in history. And he said, well, that's not what we have to do. All we have to do is win today. And he says, I told that to my players.
And that's the great thing about baseball, John. There's no clock. They can't run out on you. Nothing can run out on you. All you have to do is win that game today, and you won't be eliminated. That was the point, and I think that's what the Padres have to think about. Win the game today, we will not be eliminated.
Because it looks like impossible odds winning 3 in a row, but they only have to win today. That's a base hit down the right field line, and finally, for the first time in 3 games, somebody comes through in the clutch for the Padres. Scoring is Gonzalez. Cameron's going to be waved home. Now breaking for third is Branyan. It's a weak throw, and he makes it to third. That's got to be a triple, doesn't it? The infield comes in now for Blum. Blum has 9 hits in 16 lifetime at-bats against Jeff Suppan. Now, if they're going to get more here, Blum is the key.
Right.
He's going to have to do it. You got the pitcher Young up next.
Well, this is one of those situations where you say to yourself, I have to keep the ball on the infield if I'm going to pitch to Blum.
And Blum's been a tough out over the years for Suppan. Fastball inside.
And see, the other problem here is you say, I'll go ahead and walk Blum. Well, if you do that and then Chris Young bunts him over, then you have to face Dave Roberts with 2 men in scoring position. So those are the choices you have right now. Because if he walks Blum, I guarantee you they're going to bunt Chris Young and move 1 more run into scoring position.
Tagging at third is Branyan. It's medium right field. Encarnacion. The throw cut off by Pujols, and no chance to get Branyan at the plate. And so the job is done by Blum. 3-0 San Diego.
Well, Encarnacion was trying to set himself to get in position to throw, and it seemed to me like the wind was moving the ball a little bit, and when he caught it, he wasn't in as good a position as he was trying to get in. I mean, watch now, he's trying to time it so he can get himself in the right position, but then he ends up having to go more to his right, and then the ball took off a little bit, and he caught it high over his head instead of right in front of him.
They made a throw to third base there, appealing that Branyan left too soon from third base. Rolen took the throw, but third base umpire Marty Foster said, no, that didn't happen. He left, as Buck O'Neill once said, right on time. 3-0. The Cardinals are trailing now, and all of the things that have gone so poorly for the Padres in this series, for the first time, they've done them well in this inning. Russell Branyan got the big hit, the one they'd been lacking in the series until this inning.
Well, they have 5 base hits, and the Cardinals actually only 1 base hit. But one of the things that San Diego has done all year long is they've hit better on the road than they did in Petco Park.
That is called strike 3 to Young. The inning is over, but the Padres get 3 on 2 hits. Now the big guns are coming up for the Cardinals. Pujols, Edmonds, and Rolen when we come back.